Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. There's a new Creedmoor in town. It's the 7mm Creedmoor. It's got the high BC, the high energy. It's got efficiency. It's got the intelligent case design and every other buzzword. Go buy it right now. If you're like me, you're just fed up with everything that's going on in modern cartridge marketing, modern rifle marketing. You hear every buzzword like intelligent case design and efficiency and stuff like that. And you know, every new cartridge is either a Creedmoor, an ARC, a Western. Everything's different. Everything's the latest and greatest, the best. And we get fed up with it and we think, man, this day and age, it's just gotten ridiculous, hasn't it? Well, sadly, it's not a new concept. It's been around forever, and it used to be a lot worse than we think it was. All the way back to 1907, when the company Rigby got a hold of the 757 Mauser, they wanted to make a cartridge, or they wanted this cartridge in their platforms, their rifles that they were selling to British hunters, as well as other Commonwealth hunters across Australia, Africa, India, but they knew that if it had that dirty German word Mauser on it, it wouldn't sell. It probably wouldn't sell too good. So what they decided to do is just rename it the 275 Rigby, not really change anything about it beyond what they stamp on the case and what they stamp on the rifle. And hey, it's a new thing. It sells great. Winchester and Marlin had a similar thing going on with the 30-30 Winchester. You know, 30-30 Winchester came out with it. They named it that, or it could have been just named, you'll see it commonly, 30 Winchester centerfire. Well, then when Marlin started making their lever guns and whatnot, they had to do it in the same cartridge, but they needed to make it sell more. They couldn't have Winchester on the side of their gun, so they had to rename it 30 Marlin. And there's other cartridges like this throughout the days where you read it and it's like, well, what's really the difference? And there is no difference beyond just a name. So like I said, Rigby wanted this to sound more posh, less German, and in order to get better sales to English-speaking markets. And this became very popular in Africa, where I learned about it reading John Taylor's book, African Rifles and Cartridges. And I had already known about the 7 Mauser. I'm an 8 Mauser fanboy. I love, you know, K98s, my WZ-29, any other military rifle, military surplus rifle in 8mm Mauser. I think that's one of the best cartridges ever designed. Well, you know, I knew about 757, and I was like, well, what did this little 757 do as far as hunting? Everything. If you want a cartridge that has a resume to it, it is the 757 Mauser. All the way to Jim Corbett in India taking large tigers with it, all the way to like John Taylor talked about taking a number of African Plains game, and even he quoted WMD Bell's book where he killed thousands of elephant with both the 6.5x55 Swede and the 757 Mauser. This is pretty much the ultimate resume for a cartridge if you could have one. In January of last year, I happened to be in a high-end sporting goods and gun shop up in North Houston called Gordy & Sons. That's back when I was ready to start looking at a M18 Mauser. I really wanted that rifle. I loved the look of it. I loved the idea behind it. Basically a Mauser take on kind of a Tikka-ish design, the 3-lug bolt and whatnot, shorter bolt throw. Well, anyway, I ended up going, and while I was asking about that, the salesman must have seen my Magellan clothing and knew that I had champagne tastes and beer pockets, because he started handing me all sorts of guns. One of them was a Sauer 404, which I probably will eventually get. That is one of the coolest barrel replacement systems I've ever seen. Those of you who don't know, the Sauer 404 is designed with like a camming collar mechanism on the barrel, where all you do is take out the 2 action screws, and there's a hex head Allen bolt underneath. You loosen the 2 Allen bolts, pull a lever, and you can swap your barrel out. Makes it really easy for places that really control actions, like in Europe and whatnot, where you can easily swap out a barrel, but still have, you have multiple options and one action to go with. Well, after he handed me that, he handed me this absolutely gorgeous Mauser. It was engraved. It had really beautiful, like curly maple kind of looking stock. I'm sure it was a different type of wood, but it had that look. Well, I roll it over to the side of the barrel to see what cartridge it was in, and when I saw the words 275 Rigby, I automatically knew this was going to be a 5-figure gun. And not to disappoint, the price tag said $12,000, which I immediately handed back to him so that I didn't get charged with damaging it or getting my poor people juices all over it. Well, on the drive home, that kind of spawned the idea for this rifle, which is the 275 Rigby improved we have at home. This was supposed to be done on my Mauser M18. If you've seen my video, I got it in 30-06. That was a great rifle. Well, like government workers do and postal people, like it happens in the postal world, I sent it off to get rebarreled, and I never heard from it again, never got a scan. And the people with the insurance claim and whatnot basically told me to go screw myself. So, hey, it happens to everybody. It's infuriating, typical freaking government employees, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about it because I can't, go kick in the door and, demand an inspection and find my firearm. So after all that fiasco, I told the barrel company, which is Creedmoor, I said, hey, instead of doing this custom barrel in the 757, if you wouldn't mind, just make another 98 Mauser action barrel, and I'll find because I actually had a receiver laying around for it. This was a Chilean 1912 Mauser carbine that I bought the barreled action. I thought I was going to do a retro resto mod, restore it back to military configuration. When I started crunching the numbers, it really wasn't worth it. There was no point in doing it. I would have to basically spend an extra $600 just to get the rifle back into original configuration. So I took the barrel off of it, and that's what you see is this donor action. It was not an original, so don't yell at me in the comments for destroying an original. When I was doing the barrel customization form in the first place, I was like, well, I want 757 Mauser, but I'm even more goofy. I need something different. And I had read P.O. Ackley's book, and magically, he did the 757 Mauser improved. And if any of you know, I'm a big fan of the 25-06 Ackley improved. After I built my other rifle, you see my other video on it. Well, one of the other cartridges I was thinking about doing was 257 Roberts improved. And if you know, the 257 Roberts is just a neck down 7mm Mauser. So, easy enough to do. They just ordered a custom reamer, and I got so easy enough to do. They got a custom reamer. I went with a 1-8 twist, number 5 supporter barrel, 6 flutes. Fluted barrels look cooler, which means more accurate, right? It's just got to be like that. It is what it is. Fluted equals cooler, so equals more accurate, more deer killed, right? Eventually, I'm going to go with a Timney featherweight trigger in it. I had to go with the standard mil-spec trigger just because the Timney that I got wasn't really fitting correctly. I have to see what's going on with that. But this tuned Mauser trigger, I'm used to shooting them little heavy, but smooth, so it'll work for now. A bent bolt that I got off of Numeric with a Model 70 style 3-position safety. It's a pretty heavy safety. I don't know what the gunsmithing was involved with this this pre-built model. I'm assuming it probably came off an old Sporter. It works, it goes on safe. It just kind of takes quite a bit of force to do it. So we'll have to work on that eventually. Right now I have a Vortex Diamondback Tactical. This has kind of been my thrasher scope. Put it on everything, beat the snot out of it. It still tracks, it still holds zero. It's one of the best optics I've ever bought for the money. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's really hindering me on the accuracy. And finally, I went with a Bell & Carlson Mark X Sporter stock. I found it on eBay actually fairly cheap, 180 bucks. Thinking about the 275 Rigby and, you know, how posh that has to sound, and this is kind of a theme build, I went with, you know, a bootleg posh finish on it. Found a ghetto Cape Buffalo sticker and pretty neat little custom stencil that I made for the 275 Rigby Improved you see on the forend. All in all, though, I really like this rifle. It kind of reminds me of a Remington Sendero. Little bit different barrel contour, but similar overall look and package. Tomorrow I have a Leupold VX5 HD with the HTMR reticle. I'm going to slap that on there and we're going to go do some more load development. But that's it on the build. Let's talk about the cartridge and what I've gotten so far out of it. I'm not completely through with all of my load development because reading P.O. Ackley's book again, it seems like we've got quite a bit to go. So we go down to the 175 grain with 4350. He's saying he was getting darn near 2,800 feet per second. This book, I believe, was revised in the 1960s, so that's obviously a bit of a difference between then and now as far as powder is concerned. Powder development, how it's made. I'm sure the processes have changed a little bit. And all the way down with the 140 grain bullet, you can see with 4350, 2,700 feet per second, but with 3031 and high velocity 2, I'm not sure about those. 3,100 feet per second, that's insane. I have to play with that a little bit. I have some 140 grain Sierra Tip Game Kings coming in that I'm gonna use, or hopefully use, on an upcoming pronghorn hunt. I haven't decided yet between that projectile and this projectile, the 110 TTSX. Right now with a max charge from the book of 4064, I'm getting 3,200 feet per second out of this little guy, which is an absolute laser beam out to 400 yards. You'll see some roll-in footage with that. And I'm deciding, do I want the 140, a little bit better BC, or this with freaking lightning speeds on it and a really flat trajectory out to even 400 yards. It's ridiculous. So we have a little dummy cartridge that I made. What I do with every cartridge that I make and I get a good load for, I usually try and make a dummy at least of the overall length, just so I always have reference. For anyone else who's kind of an ADHD, you know, forget it as soon as you set it down. Having any sort of reference is always great. As you can see, I just got some Nosler cases that I'm going to fire form. And when I do my load development, I always write down the charge and what powder I used on the case. An extra thing, you know, you wait 4 days, you'll forget it. And sometimes the little paper slips they give you with the cartridge boxes, they go missing. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to write it on the case and I'll know exactly which bullet is just by looking at it, and I'll be able to write it down as I'm taking my notes. But there is that famous 40-degree shoulder fire form. Light's kind of having trouble picking it up. But yeah, there we go. That's the before and after of what it would look like. With the 175 grain Nosler AccuBond long range, right now I'm getting right at 2,700 feet per second. I could probably push more. I haven't seen any pressure signs yet, and I'm well above book data. But I'm kind of one of those, kind of, you know, quit while you're ahead kind of deal. I don't want to overpressure this rifle. So I'll probably back it down just a hair, just to where it's right under or right at 2,700 feet per second. Speaking of load data, kind of a gripe I want to go to. So this data from the 1960s, a 175 grain bullet with 2,700 feet per second. I guarantee you he's probably using some sort of a standard soft point. Those of you who are cartridge and projectile aficionados, you probably know that's, I'm sure the Nosler partition was in and around that time developed. Either that or like the Coralox or, you know, the early versions of those, you know, tougher bullets started coming around. So that's fantastic. That sounds like somebody who's actually like really tried to push the envelope, turn up the gas, and got some really insane results out of it. This brings us to Hornady. Good grief, Hornady. 2,300 feet per second with a 175 grain bullet. I mean, did you just give up here? I understand that there's certain pressures that have to be made because some of these cartridges were designed in older pattern firearms. You want it to work in everything. But Nosler doesn't have this problem. Thank you, Nosler, for actually giving us, you know, non-anemic load data. Nosler will say, hey, at least 2,500 feet per second, if not 2,600, depending on the powder. You'll see the chart I'll post in the pre or post edit. But good grief, 2,300 feet per second with a 175 grain bullet. That's like that's ridiculous. And if we go down to the 140s, which the Mauser is known for, 2,600 feet per second. I mean, if we go up to 8mm Mauser, which is, you know, standardized 323 bullet was a little bit later, like World War I era. But this is one of the ones that people were having problems blowing up because they had 318 barrels coming back along with 323. People didn't know, put the cartridge in there and had issues because they didn't check what they were doing. But I mean, 150 grain bullet, yeah, you're going to see a little bit of a jump with cartridges and caliber increase. For those of you who don't know, if you increase the diameter of a bullet, you're able to fit a little bit more powder in there, and the more even push against the back of the bullet, something about that really gets you a little bit more velocity with similar weight bullets. Whereas if you go down with similar weight bullets, if you go down in caliber, you'll get a higher BC but lower velocity. That's the trade-off you'll see with all cartridges. But with a 150 grain bullet, you're getting 2,900 feet per second, almost 3,000. Like, are we kidding here? You see this circle here. This is one of my favorite loads, Varget, 48 grains at 150 grain soft point. That's one of my pet loads. Shoots great, but I mean, this is before I had anything to compare it to. I bought this manual back when I was working at the ammo place, and I thought this was the cat's meow. But if you look at Nosler's or someone else's load data, you start realizing a lot of this stuff is anemic. It's ridiculous. Anyway, rant aside, Hornady, you could have at least said, okay, here's one load for lower pressure Mausers and stuff like that, the old 1893 actions, and here's a modern action, but you didn't do that. Nosler, it looks like they just, we're going to give you the hottest load possible, and we're going to leave it to you to be a big boy and do the load development properly, and if you blow yourself up, it's your own stupid fault. Thank you, Nosler, and Hornady, good grief, man. But hey, I guess you got to sell your own cartridges, right? So, going off of Nosler's book data, at least with this projectile, I'm getting about 100 feet per second more, maybe 150 feet per second, depending on how much I want to push it at the end of this. Absolutely fantastic. And with the lighter stuff, so like with the 110, so with the Barnes 110 TTSX, what I ended up doing with this, instead of just going crazy with trying to push as much powder as I can, there's another powder out there that most of you who reload military surplus cartridges know this. IMR 4064 and Mauser cartridges is absolutely fantastic. It's kind of like Varget. My K98, my WZ29, both of those cartridges and 7x57, they love IMR 4064. And almost every projectile weight, You may not get the best, you know, your barrel may like one weight more than another, but in general, with a certain powder, 4064 is fantastic, and it's no difference with this. You'll see some of the targets I'll post with shooting this projectile, the 154 grain SST, and the 175 ABLR. I'm with 10 shots, I'm under 2 minutes all day long. With 5 shots, I'm within a minute and a quarter, minute and a half, which for a 400-yard antelope rifle, I really can't complain. That's some people, if it's not shooting a bug hole group, they don't want it, but I mean, that's fantastic to me. You'll see me shooting 8-inch, 6-inch gongs out to 400 yards with all three projectiles, the 154 grain SST, the 175 grain ABLR, and the 110 TTSX. On an 8-inch piece of steel out to that distance, I'll have no problem shooting a pronghorn with it, which is the plan for this gun. Coming up in October, I'll be heading up to the beautiful state of Colorado, and hopefully, if I'm lucky enough, I will get my chance at a pronghorn buck, and it'll be the first I've ever taken, and it may be the first game animal I've taken in Colorado at all. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. This is the preliminary results that I've gotten with this rifle. I'll post all the data in post-cut so you can see what I've gotten so far and what I've tried. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to ask them. A final question to leave you off: what is your favorite classic cartridge? Is it the 7x57 Mauser? Is it 30-06? 300 Winchester Magnum? Or is it something even weirder like mine, or like 614 Possum Works has done? He's done a great video series on his custom precision rifle in the 6.5 Creedmoor, or the 6.5 by 55 Ackley improved. That is an absolutely fantastic video series. I'll link the video series in the description. Dude's absolutely awesome. I love him for enjoying a classic cartridge like I do. And I hope you check his video out, and I hope you like this one as well. Let me know what you want to see in the future. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. Goodbye.